Alright guys, so we're doing another review today. I'm Gene.
Brendan.
And today we're doing Log Horizon Season 1, Uno. Season numero uno.
Wow.
Wow, yeah, database. Alright guys, so as I was saying, we're doing Log Horizon. Log Horizon, do you want me to go ahead and start with general setting and all that? Or
yeah, we can like kind of go back and forth, but you can get it started.
Alright guys, so as I was saying, the Elder Tales. Yeah, so it takes place in Elder Tales. About 30,000 players, I would say, got trapped.
Something like that.
Yeah, about roughly 30,000. But that's just, I thought it was just like the Japan server alone.
It's all the servers. So yeah, no. So what Log Horizon basically is like you were saying, right? That there's this MMORPG called Elder Tale. Yeah, it's this MMORPG. It's been around it's went through 11 updates, so I would assume it's been around for a good amount of time.
Yeah, they said they were playing it for 7 years. Yeah,
they've been playing the game for 7 years. The main character is in college. We'll get to him in a second. Mm-hmm. But the game's been out for 7 years. It's been going over a span of 11 expansions. Like, it's a very popular game.
There seems to be a thing though with oh fuck, let's go ahead and trap these guys in a video game for whatever reason.
That's definitely a trope that pops up every now and then. But basically, so in this MMORPG game, it's they get trapped.
Just for whatever reason, I don't even still know why. Like in any of the games, you don't really, other than not games, but the shows.
Wow. Wow, for example. God. Anyway. Anyway. So in the most recent expansion, the 11th expansion to be exact, they get stuck into the game. All the people who are currently locked into the game at the time of the 11th expansion get trapped into the game. They don't know why. The world that they're in seems to be like Elder Tale, but there's a lot of differences, and that's where they find themselves now. The story is basically these gamers just trying to some who know each other, some who don't. They have to just learn how to live in this world.
Yeah, adapt to the world and just see what's changed. Because I know once that expansion hit, like you were saying, a lot of things.
You can actually respawn.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, this is one of those games where it's
not
I'd rather not die, and then
not other animes with that have similar concepts. They can actually respawn.
We're not in season 2 yet, so I cannot say anything.
See, this is what G messed up. He watched season 2 ahead of time. Now there's I'm going to be theorizing stuff. He's already going to know he's going to have to keep his mouth shut. But anyway, so let's go do a rundown of just the general cast and stuff like that. So, straight up, my boy, the main character, Shiro.
The villain in glasses.
The villain in glasses. Shing-san.
Yeah, that's just what this show's all about.
It's just Shing Wars. There's another character. There's another character, he's not one of the main characters, but his name is Krusty, who also has glasses, and every time he makes a point, he just does this as well.
Name everyone that does that, dude.
Okay, Shiro, Krusty, Henrietta, Marie, even though she doesn't even have glasses.
She does air glasses.
She does air glasses. She just goes like this. And everyone calls her out air glasses, what are you doing? I'm
like, what? I just wanted to be a part of it. Just starts doing that.
She saw too much of Shiro and Krusty just doing it, and she got jealous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things, too, that I find pretty interesting is that they do not waste any time. The first episode he gets in there, he's like, oh, time to go explore the world. Let's see what happens, because apparently we're stuck here. We can't log out. So, okay, this is happening, so this is how you fight. Let's not die, because we don't want to know what happens. Let's talk about food. That gets brought up, which we'll bring that up later.
But, food. Yeah. So, making food is the same way they did it in the game before, but they find out that the food is completely tasteless.
It turns into a purple blob looking thing whenever you try to add it, or when you want to use your cooking skill.
Yeah,
because I think you have to actually make the food as if
that's what they bring up later. They find out that that they think that all the food you cook just doesn't taste like anything. They eventually find food that actually has flavor, and they're like, oh my god, it actually tastes something. Oh.
Yeah, they didn't ask wasn't he it tastes like a salty cracker, every time, he's like, why?
Every single time. And then they actually had a burger. Was it a burger, the first food? I don't know. But anyway, let's just say it was. They had a burger that actually tasted like a hamburger, and they were just
was like, oh my god, it's so good.
And then they found out that, in this game, it adheres to many of the same, in the world that they live in, it adheres to many of the same rules that the game was that they previously played, and then they got sucked in, But then they found out if you actually do some of the stuff you can make things that didn't previously exist in this world. The first thing that they did was food. If you actually make your food using a cooking skill, you can actually make food that actually tastes like food. Then they found out...
You can make money off of food. Basically called Business Horizon. So
Business Horizon.
So in a couple of those episodes, since they did find out that you can, well, the secret to making food and make it edible and tasty and stuff like that, they decided to actually come up with a business proposal to make money. Just because you're in a world where there's no rules. Screw the rules, I have money, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was such a crucial thing. But let me back up a second because we're kind of getting a little ahead. So we talked about the main characters, Shiro, Akatsuki, and Natsugu, how they were just like, they're level 90. They've been playing since the beginning of the game, or at least very close to it.
5 to 7 years.
So that's 7 years. So they're like at the previous max levels. So the first episode just has it like destroying all the enemies, no problem. And that was a big concern. It's like, wow, they're just destroying everything. Where is the show going to go if they really have no challenge? They're max level and they're a perfect team. But then they did something interesting. They had these 3 characters do a more, like Gene said, Business Horizon. They saw a world that had no rules, and they said,
let's conquer it. I'm going to Overlord.
It's not Overlord, Gene. Anyway.
We'll do that later.
No, Shiro wanted to make an actual world that had rules so people don't feel oppressed, because they already had some player killers that were killing people. They were enslaved. Then they took advantage of the fact that you couldn't kill certain players in places, and were enslaving the new players, taking their XP pots so they could gain quick levels and like just have them do whatever they want. The younger players could do nothing, and they had to like save them. And now, wow, we don't want that to happen again. Let's make some rules. So Shiro basically came with like a series of like plans, like let's think of a way to make this, this lawless world have laws so that we can all live. Mm-hmm. We live in this world for the time being, for the foreseeable future. Let's make it a place that we would like living,
And we forgot to actually say what the name of the place was. So Akihabara, right?
It's Akihabara, based on like the real world place in Japan. Mm-hmm. And Shiro and his group were. The one thing I just want to point out right now, that Shiro is, in our MMORPGs usually have guilds. Shiro has never belonged to a guild. The closest thing was like a group of people that he called the Debauchery Tea Party.
But why? Why not though? Do you remember why?
I think the exact reason was Shiro's kind of a loner character. Like he's very like socially awkward, despite his like.
He got taken advantage of. That's what it was.
That's right. He did get taken advantage at one point. That's kind of the thing why he's kind of like iffy about joining guilds.
Or helping anyone that matter, because remember, since like you said, he was a loner. Everyone was like, "Oh, help me with this," or help me with this quest." But I'm kind of doing my own thing. No, that's fine. You're higher level. Guide me through this. Can you carry?
Shiro was like the guide, pretty much. Like as awkward as he is, like he just like, well, I kind of reversed that. As much of like a leader he is, and as smart as he is, like he just like he's just very awkward to like talk to. Like if he's like helping someone, it's a different story. But if he has to feel like he has to be a leader, but that changed when he started making these rules, and he formed his own guild, the Log Horizon. Hey, that's the name of the show.
What a coincidence.
What a coincidence. So yeah, he rejected the offer of like one of the characters they introduced, Marie. She's the leader of a girl called the Crescent Moon. Like she offered many times for Shiro to join, but he realized if he wanted to do the things he wanted to do his way, he needed to have his own guild, and so that's why he formed it.
Yeah. And as when you were talking about with the rules and stuff like that, there was a series of events, including the Business Horizon thing that we were talking about with selling the burgers. There was a point into making this money. And that was to actually kind of screw everyone over.
In a way. Yeah. That's why they call him the villain in glasses. He bought the guild hall.
Yeah, so all your money is going into my bank.
Actually, I own this place.
So,
like, he got all the leaders of the major guilds together.
Told them, like, oh no!
Yeah, exactly.
Please watch JoJo.
Yeah. He told everyone his proposal. At first, a bunch of them were like disagreeing, and that's when he's like, I don't want to say this, but you see this place that you're sitting in right now?
It's actually my chair.
I own it.
And that's why he's the villain in glasses.
But Shiro is like a really cool character. Like, I don't like everything about him, but he's like a really like solid character, the kind of character you would want like to be the character in this kind of like story where you're making rules in this lawless world, and that's a character like that is a very important.
But don't think of him as an actual villain though, because yes, he did do that and screwed everyone over. But for the long run, it was to actually help everyone establish like, okay, now we have a currency. Here's how much things cost. So let's go ahead and actually like you said, have a lawless world and make rules and just be more civilized.
One other cool thing is that one big difference from the old game that they played, that this world they're in is like that game, NPCs. So in the show, the NPCs are called the people of the land, and the NPCs before.
You don't fuck with NPCs. You
don't,
never
man.
do.
Like God, especially not in this world. It used to be the NPCs were your non-player characters, for those who don't know, just people who just they gave you quests. You talk to them, got information about your world, but as soon as this update went up and they got stuck into this world, the NPCs
they had their own.
Had their own minds. They had autonomy. They thought for themselves. Mm-hmm. Some of the they were planning to rebel against the adventurers, which is what the players from the outside world were called. They're called the adventurers. They were planning to rebel against them. It got pretty dire for a second. It's like, oh geez, they had their own thoughts. They wanted to attack, and more importantly, they weren't giving out quests anymore, which led to a big thing that happened in the middle of Log Horizon Season 1.
Yeah, where everyone was just feeling well then what's the point of living? Let's just sit around and not do anything. So all the efforts that they did to build a civilization was falling apart because of the NPCs. So they do play a big role in the show. And
that leads us to the event that I was just referencing a second ago, the middle event. The one that really brought together the adventurers and the people of the land, the NPCs. And that is I don't know the exact name, but the Crowning of the Goblin King event.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. So just explain a little bit of what that is. And
Yeah. So in MMORPGs, they have these events that, it's usually open for all players. They'll sometimes give, you have to be level of this and up to, participate in it. But essentially, those are those kind of events. And one of them was called Crowning of the Goblin King. Every now and then, I think it was twice a year, I'm not 100% sure, but twice a year, there's an event where the goblin is about to be crowned. The players have the chance to defeat him and get a whole bunch of rewards if they stop the goblin from being crowned. But if they don't stop him, then the goblin is crowned and he leads an attack that attacks all of the city. That has never happened before, because every time that event was announced, at least someone would go do the event and complete it. But with the NPCs no longer giving quests, no one knew about it.
It's not that they knew. I guess it's just that they forgot. Because remember, there are veteran players.
They're veteran players, and they're an unfamiliar world. They were too busy trying to make this world that they completely forgot that this is also a game in a sense, because with its own quest. And because they didn't stop the Goblin King from being crowned, he was crowned, and he led an entire attack on the entire kingdom that, it came out of nowhere. Everything was getting wrecked. The people, the adventurers and the NPCs had to essentially work out their differences and fight against this united threat. But one thing we didn't mention that I think we should really mention is, the thing I was talking about earlier, how, Shiro, Akatsuki, Natsugu were so powerful, and you couldn't really get a sense of there's any kind of threat because they're so powerful. And that's when they introduced these new characters. They introduced younger characters. Two of them were enslaved by the player killer guilds. A pair of twins, Toya and Minori, and a few other younger players, a girl named Isuzu and another a little girl named Sarara.
Yeah, Sarara, yeah.
And another guy called Rudy, who his full name is Rundo House Codes.
My boy. Which, Joe, we're going to get to the spoiler section?
Yeah, let's talk about that right now. Okay. So, big thing about Rundo House Code is that he's this big pompous guy. He comes to I don't know, what's the Sarah? It was like.
What level are you?
It was I'm 22. 22. Try not to slow me down. Wait, what level are you? I'm 24.
That's not really much of a difference. But what makes him different than everyone else really is that there was one point where we didn't really know up until a certain point happened, but someone tried to, because you know how when you're playing online, you have your friends and stuff like that, you can add them or form your own guilds, etc. Well, somebody tried to add him, it didn't work. And we were like,
why didn't it work? Why did he not get added to the guild? So as it turns out, and we kind of skipped this, I'm just going to touch on this real quick. Anytime an adventurer dies, they respawn at the cathedral. If they don't, they don't die for real, they just go back to the cathedral. But, if an NPC, a person of the land dies, they're just gone for good.
Yeah, gone for good.
And so Rudy tried to in short, is Rundo's short. Anyway, Rudy he was about to die. And that's when they found out that he wasn't actually an adventurer. He was actually an NPC
who
that wanted to become an adventurer.
Exactly.
And that's another thing. Like these NPCs have like all these thoughts. An NPC would not do something like this, but he actually really wanted to become an adventurer more than anything, and he like went for it at the cost of like
his own life.
Mm-hmm. And that's when Shiro did one of the coolest things in the show. He essentially changed the entire...
He became God.
He became God.
Like, no, you're not going to die. Arise. And then...
We were talking before about how, like, by actually cooking, you can create new recipes that the world didn't even have, like new things. People were actually making things using their engineering skills.
And by writing in paper, you can bring people back to life. What is that about?
Yeah, you can write you can write contracts that didn't exist in the world, and therefore he wrote a contract.
It's a death note now.
It's a life note, literally. He wrote his name on the note, and Rudy came back to life, and now he's an adventurer. He's not an NPC anymore.
Part of his guild, and I'm like, oh.
Now he's part of Log Horizon, on top of everything else.
So he just basically went from side character to main character. Like he got out of the zone, which is pretty rare in shows.
I guess so, yeah. He's part of Log Horizon. I thought the show, and after that, like, that Goblin event was probably, like, I personally think was the highlight. After that, it was just kind of like a festival. There's this guy that was trying to, like, take over everything. It didn't really go anywhere. It was just kind of like setting up for the denouement, the ending of the show.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely leads to a lot of questions, and right now we're only doing season 1. Obviously, as of this recording, season 2 has been done, and hopefully season 3,
been done.
We'll hopefully do that later on. But yeah, it leads to a lot of questions as to can they go anywhere else? Are they just stuck there? How are they gonna get home? Is there more foods? Is there things that they're gonna build?
This man here was saying,
would they want to go home?
Yeah, would they want to go home? Yeah,
that's the other thing. I guess the last thing we could talk about is like our personal thing. So I want to talk about a few of the characters. Like my personal opinions are like the main cast. Like I already talked about Shiro. Naotsugu is your comic relief. He's not
only that, but I feel like I like the fact that he's like very loyal.
He is, and he's like the big brother to the younger heroes, like Toya, one of the twins I mentioned.
Kind of reminded me of Brock too, man. Because whenever he tried to go for like the girl, he would stop him. And then just fly off.
Gene, I think you just helped me like Naotsugu a little more. I think you did that.
There you go. You're welcome.
Akatsuki, I liked as it went along because she started off as a very robotic character, and then she actually gained some personality. Like she's like Shiro got 3 girls trying to get to him.
Better than glasses, man.
He got Akatsuki. Then little Minori was just looking at like Sensei or whatever. Then she started having feelings for him, and then another girl, Henrietta, that was like the intern, was starting to wonder. Wait, do I like Shiro? I don't know. He's just like
quiet.
I don't know.
Like the glasses thing.
What about my boy Nyanta?
Nyanta! Okay, so Nyanta.
You need to hop in for this one, dude. Yeah, talk about Nyanta.
Yeah, get in here. Oscar making a surprise cameo here to talk about Nyanta.
In the background earlier. Is my head at least in the shot?
Okay, yeah, get in here. All right. Yeah,
so Nyanta, go ahead and talk about him, dude.
Okay, I mentioned him earlier. Also, here's your phone back.
Thank you.
You mentioned him earlier about how, well, you mentioned him. You mentioned how they discovered food was good. He was actually the reason that they found out that you can actually taste food. He was actually a chef in real life. Mm-hmm. So in the game world, and we haven't found out why he looks like a cat.
Well, that's
he's just Nyanta.
No. Well, they did explain that. Like, that's his race. Like,
no, he chose his race, but like he's the only one who's really done that, isn't he?
Well, no, he used to be part of a guild that was like all catmen, but he like got separated.
They're gone now.
They're gone now.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's the reason they knew about everything, and then they ended up, like pitching in and putting all the money together because of the whole little secret with the food cooking stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, Nyanta though.
Yeah. So in reality, he's not only a cook, but he can dual wield like pretty good.
Backhanded dual wielding, son. What is that? Yeah. Nyanta is the best character. That's my only complaint about him. Like he went in on that first few episodes,
and then he just converted into a side character, dude. He
didn't do anything.
Back like,
oh no,
what are you talking about? Well, for any big thing that Shiro can't handle, he's the go-to guy. Like you have what was it, Naotsu, right? The guy's name?
Naotsugu, yeah.
Yeah, well, he's like the big brother. I was thinking more along the lines of just a good loyal best friend you could turn to for certain things, but if he actually needed advice, he needed someone like break down in front of like, bruh. What if she says no? Like, it'd be Nyanta.
Yeah.
That's
It was because of Nyanta the guild even happened.
Yeah.
Remember, he was reluctant. It was his speech to him that made him actually go ahead and make the guild.
Yeah.
That's true. I forgot about that one.
Nyanta's the reason, like, everything got put into motion.
Yeah.
Wow.
He is Log Horizon.
He is the database.
He is the database.
He's the reason they didn't struggle in the database.
Actually, no, and there's another thing too. You guys remember that they said that they had reached the highest level possible, which was 90, but now with the
There's a level
expansion,
100.
Level 100. Well, how do you guys think that's going to affect the show? Or just the characters?
I don't know.
Because
it's
how you going to level up at this point? Yeah, it is a
DLC.
DLC, technically. So,
It is technically the DLC.
do they have to train to like level up?
I would think it's more along the lines of getting everyone else in the guild and around any friends to catch up to them in aspects like the same way you can cook and do contracts. The same thing is the evolving combat. If you knew anything prior to joining the place, or you could create on the fly, things like that. Like that's how they got hunting to be something simple that they just kind of go through the motions.
That's true.
My boy Shiriichi.
So it's more of just an evolution of the whole society as
Yeah.
one. I think that's what we'll just continue.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I was gonna say if we have the more time, we should go ahead and just say it before the video ends. Actually, don't even explain it. Just say one or the other. Which show do you prefer with the same genre? This one
I'm
Or
gonna be honest.
Library.
I prefer Sword Art Online.
for the romance aspect.
That and there's a bunch of other aspects that I don't want to like get into. If we ever do a Sword Art Online episode, I'll definitely make those comparisons. But for now, I do prefer Sword Art Online. G.
I don't know, man.
Get Gina Twix. He needs a
Just
moment.
Log Horizon for me,
Gene
man.
hates
Just because like,
both.
it really, like, I don't know, just spoke to me more, man. And probably because I saw that first, then, like, Sword Art, and that was one of the reasons, other than you guys, like, that was like, oh, let me go ahead and start watching Sword Art.
I'll say one thing though. If Log Horizon 2 has more Nyanta, I'm in, man. Nyanta is the best. Nya.
At least you're not, finishing your instance with Densetsu.
That's where could I see your fat?
Yeah, I go Log Horizon. I prefer the logic in the show better.
Well, yeah, because right off the bat of the first episode, so this thing called ganking. Remember when they just started explaining this and that?
Oh,
and
that's
whatever.
right. They just
And
like
kiting and all
they
that.
just went right into it.
They explain more game related
I said we
things.
weren't
in
gonna
the
go over
Sword
it. Just blanket which one, like black or white.
Log Horizon for me.
Log Horizon. So
Sword
it's
Art.
2-1. We'll see what Rob thinks. I think it's gonna be Sword Art if I had to guess.
Rob is gonna pick Sword Art. He's
Yeah,
like
he
goes
loves the romance too much.
way too much. But yeah, I think that's pretty much like we could of course go on, but like
That'd be later up. Yeah, later.
we'll probably just say that for
Season
Log
2.
Horizon 2. That's what we're gonna do. All right, guys, that was Log Horizon. Oscar, we're glad you could come in to join us.
That's it, man. Just Nyanta was the hype. You also had to come in for the hype.
We need.
Exactly.
It was all about Nyanta. We didn't mention him before because like it was like building up until we could just mention him.
Also, just
like Shiro's cool, Krusty is cool, but Nyanta.
Wow,
That's
wow.
Database, just living in the database.
Have a good
Goodbye.
All right, see you guys.